Welcome, everyone, to another segment of the Dino Times Show. I'm your guys' host, Dakota Morgan, coming to you from Phoenix, Arizona. Friendly neighborhood podcaster, animal caretaker, dinosaur enthusiast, as well as toy unboxer, comic book writer, all sorts of jazz. But today we have a very, very good guest on the show. It's an interview episode today, folks, for Dino Times. We are talking to David Silva, on the show, the creator of Beasts of Mesozoic toy line for the raptors and the ceratopsians. We talk all about designing the dinosaurs, ins and outs of making toys, and, dinosaurs in general, too. So really enjoy it, folks. This interview we did was going to be for another show, but that show did not get up off the ground and such like that. So I figured, you know what? I really want to put our talk out there. Let's put our talk on Dino Times. It fits perfectly. Make sure you guys go check out Beasts of Mesozoic online, though. Give David the support. Buy one of his toys. I'm about to buy a boatload of them. It's going to be a paycheck. But I'm about to buy a boatload of them, so make sure you guys go check them out as well. And I'm on Twitter at Dakota Morgan3, Instagram at Dakota_Morgan97, Twitch, CodaRex97. And of course, folks, leave a like on the video. Subscribe if you want more dinosaurs. And stay tuned for more Dino Times, of course, with more paleo profiles, more interviews, so much reviews, actually, too. We are doing a lot of fun stuff here for you guys. So stay tuned for more science. And of course, folks, I'm going to get right into the interview. But of course, folks, always remember this. Science is real. And yeah, we're recording. Now, David, I got to say, man, you are actually the first guest that I'm actually talking to on the show. And might I add, I got to say, it's an honor to have you here on the show. But also, dealing with the chaotic schedule that we were trying to deal with and we're trying to get you on the show for a little bit here. We had my thing, we had your thing last weekend, so we finally got you on.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Dakota. I appreciate it. Happy to be here.
Of course. And, we're both very busy people. And that's why I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. David does do work for NECA still. And you have your own thing going on and such, too, though. How do you do it all, might I ask?
I don't know. I mean, there's 24 hours in a day. I just try to stay busy as much as I can, and I like doing all of it, so it doesn't feel like work. It's just kind of what I want to do. So luckily, it ends up being productive.
Luckily. It's like people are like, well, what do you do with your time? Where's David? Is he an alcoholic or something? He's just always working. He's quote unquote like, no, he actually is working. He just loves what he does.
Yeah. I actually don't drink at all. I don't really do anything except make stuff. I don't go to parties or anything. I guess it's kind of a boring life to most people, but I'm pretty excited about it, and I really like what I'm doing. So, if I'm awake, I want to be working.
Oh, I feel that. Dude, David, you're speaking to the right man here because I'm the same way. Like, I work day job, animal hospital. I work as a kennel tech there. I also, as you know, I do weekends at a reptile sanctuary, and then take care of exotic animals and such like that, crocodilians and such. And then also I'm a comic book writer, and I work on video games and do podcasts. So
That's awesome.
Oh, it's a thing, and I think it's one of those things where people sometimes don't find it, or it's tough for them to understand about it, is when you find that thing that you really love and you really love to do it, you don't want to let it go.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, I actually hate going to bed at night. I hate feeling like, oh, I'm too tired to keep working. I need to go get some rest. And, like, I feel like, all right, I got to give in now. I have to give in to today. And after the bed, you win. It's like,
Yeah.
After myself, it's like time wins again. So I have to go rest.
Exactly. Oh, exactly. You're like, oh, man, I know I'll get sick or I'll be just mentally drained. Like, I hate naps. Like, if I take a nap, it's because I'm exhausted and my body just does it on its own. Like, this is not, I like wake up, oh my God, I fell asleep.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just that like if you're in a fortunate position where you're able to be productive at the things that you love to do, it really doesn't feel like work. It just feels like that's what you do.
Exactly.
It's as simple as that.
Exactly. And I mean, we both do stuff that our inner child just screams. I mean, hell, you get to work with toys every damn day, man. Like, that's awesome. And
Yeah.
might I add, I gotta say, I'm a really rabid dinosaur lover. Like, I worked in paleontology for a little bit of time. I have a dinosaur comic and such. I collect Jurassic toys. Like, I'm trying to decide which one of yours of the Ceratopsian series to actually get. And it's really tough. It's really tough. But you get to work with dinosaurs. You get to work at NECA. Like, you're living the dream a little bit in your inner child.
Yeah, and surprisingly, it can get very stressful because it's not all just making toys. I mean, there's a lot about it, like from the business side, that is it's a little counterintuitive for what I'm used to doing, as far as like making sure all the numbers work and making sure that everybody gets their package shipped at a certain period of time, and following up with all the emails and basically all the customer service type stuff that I try to stay on top of. And then there's like the social media promotion and updates and things like that, Kickstarter updates. There's all these other things that are outside of the creative part of it that actually, the bigger my business gets, the more of that I have to do. So it takes away more time from actually creating things. And that's why I brought in more artists to help me with that. But at the end of the day, the goal is to put something out there that I feel really proud of. And that's what I'm still doing. So, that's the whole point. So it's all towards that end.
Yeah, and it's something that obviously that people love. Like I told you before, it's tough for me to choose which one, and also Christmas gifts has made it tough too. But eventually I'm gonna get me one of the Ceratopsians, or maybe even a raptor. Like, I just don't know which one to choose, and that's the thing I've seen is like the fanfare for all the work you do on your own. Like, it's got to make it worth it. Seeing all the YouTube videos, the reviews, people posting toy photography, which I do on the side as well. Like, it's got to make it worth it in the end, though.
Yeah, I still get nervous when I see a review on YouTube. I'm thinking, oh no, I hope they're happy with it.
Like,
yeah,
you get the jitters and you're scared. Like, is it going to be
yeah,
bad? Am I going to go cry in a corner for 5 minutes and then get back to work, or what's it going to be?
yeah, because so much goes into these. But then there's also like certain aspects that I don't really have control over. Obviously, I'm doing like these big production runs in China. I can't look at each individual piece before it goes out to people, and I'm just like, fingers crossed. I hope this one was good for for this person. And I can do it. A lot of it I can do from home, but I'm obviously not on the production line. I don't see each and every piece, so there's still some things that have to be that I kind of have to let go after a certain point, and just like have to trust the people that are involved to do it right, and that's all I can do.
So, we both agree that we're both entrepreneurs, but I'm very curious in the sense here to what made you want to start your own toy line? What was it?
Yeah, it wasn't really so much that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. It's more that I felt very strongly that the action figure market was missing something that nobody was willing to do. And for the early part of my career, I was working at McFarlane and then working at Hasbro. I was really content to just work on licensed stuff, to work on other people's characters or whatever. And it was so cool. I get to work on Spawn. I get to work on McFarlane Dragons. I get to work on Star Wars or whatever. And then after a certain point, I started seeing how certain things are missing, and at the same time, there's maybe too much of something else.
Yeah.
And there were instances at each place where the topic came up of doing dinosaurs, and some in some places it went further than others, but it was always cut off at some point. And just never went through because there's no way to measure the audience for it. There's no way to know if you're going to get a return on your investment and all that stuff. So nobody's willing to really take the risk on it unless there's like some sort of movie or TV show or video game attached to it.
Yeah.
And that's just the state we live in. I think that everybody, like all the toy companies, kind of started becoming more safe with what they're investing in ever since the price of oil went up in 2008, which is around the time that the collector's market started becoming bigger because they had to start charging more money, so they start targeting older audience. And they all want to stick to established properties at that point. That's why you see so much Marvel stuff. That's why you see so much Star Wars stuff. That's why, if there's a big TV show, there's products for it, but you're not going to see a whole lot of stuff just out there as a toy. And, so that kind of falls on independence to fill that niche. And I felt for a long time that the action figure market was severely lacking in animals. And not just dinosaurs, but animals in general. Usually if you got an animal action figure, it was just in addition to some sort of human.
Yeah.
And it was usually an afterthought. You could tell it was more of an accessory than a figure.
You're right. You're absolutely right. Like if it's not Animal Planet toy, or which I don't think they make anymore, or it's non-Jurassic, it doesn't exist. Like if it's not Jurassic, it doesn't really exist, and that's like that is the tough thing about it is Jurassic, and I used to be Ken or now Mattel, how's that grasp on it? So that's the thing. It's like you're absolutely 100% right. Like we don't really have that much of animal or dinosaurs in general.
Yeah, and I mean it's not hard to find animal toys. There's a lot of figurines out there like Safari and Papo and all that, and they're fine. There's nothing wrong with them, but they're not action figures. They're not posable. Yeah. You can't tell stories with them. You can't pose them with your favorite characters and take photos and different scenarios and all this stuff. There's something about action figures that when they're done correctly, they can be very expressive. And I think people like, especially nowadays, telling stories with their action figures and showing scenes with their favorite characters that normally you wouldn't see together and things like that. And, it's an added element if you can throw in some sort of dinosaur or animal or whatever, and it just kind of enhances your collection at that point. It's something that you don't normally get.
Yeah.
And, it's just one of those, it's not a proven thing. It's like, it's something that these companies don't want to invest in because they don't really believe that they can make their money back on it. So, that's just something I felt strongly about. I'm like, well, if I lose money, then so be it. At least I still have a job.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, so, so far it's working. And I was able to find an audience, and people seem to be excited about it. So I feel really fortunate to be able to go in this direction, and I'm just going to keep going in that direction until I can't, I guess.
Dude, I'm going to be following you 100. I've been following you for a long time, since Beast of Mesozoic. Oh, of course, and Beast of Mesozoic, since you guys have been really putting stuff out there. Like, that's the weird thing about it, is I collect Jurassic toys and non-Jurassic toys for dinosaurs and animals and such. Of course, other stuff as well, but like heroes and such. But the thing is, like, would we get a new dinosaur series or company, like action figure type of stuff? Like, us dinosaur fans will eat it up like no tomorrow. That's the thing. It's like we crave that sort of stuff. We always want it, but we never get it. That's why I think it's done so well. The Beast of Mesozoic, like first the Raptor series, now Ceratopsians, which are getting done on, I think, a second wave you're working on right now. It's like we have that going on, and you've been hinting about it. Is a Tyrannosaur kind of family type of series, and like that's the thing. Like you're hitting all the niches that we want. Like the one after Tyrannosaur. If you do sauropods or stegosaurids after Tyrannosaur, you'll make all the money in the world. You'll have all of our money, man.
Yeah. I'm not sure exactly what's happening next. I don't even know how closely I'm going to stick to the the family series after this. I might start making it a little more varied after this. I really don't know for sure, but I definitely have interest in doing stegosaurs. I think sauropods might be a little further out because they have to figure out like how the scale is going to work and how they're going to be articulated. Because that's a bigger challenge than what I have been doing. But I definitely want to get to all of that stuff. I mean, there's so many possibilities. I mean, not just dinosaurs, but like pterosaurs and prehistoric sea creatures and even any animal, really. I mean, it's just that's why it's kind of baffling to me that there's nothing happening in the action figure market for this, because there's like an endless amount of product you can make between the history of natural history, and then on top of that, we keep discovering more and more things about these animals. You can put the same animal out like every 3 to 5 years, and it'll look different.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, there's tons of possibilities. I'm just one guy trying to do some stuff, and I feel kind of overwhelmed with all the things that I could be doing. But everything has to have its has to have its place, and you got to take a certain amount of time on each one, or it won't be done right. But yeah, I mean, it's really overwhelming to think about all there is that could be done, and all that's out there is really just like static figures. And I don't really consider Jurassic World to be in the same area, just because they're more like they're very designed as far as dinosaurs go. Like they're more like movie creatures than dinosaurs. They're like dinosaur-inspired creatures is what I like to call them. Yeah. And it's not a knock on them, because I know that the people that work on those movies, they deliberately take that approach. It's not like they're not trying to fool anybody. They're not trying to say this is what they look like. They're saying, well, this is what this animal looks like in our world. So a lot of people get confused and say, oh, well, that's what a Dilophosaurus looks like, or that's what a T-Rex looks like, or whatever. It's like, well, no, that's their version of that. They did it on purpose, and, people kind of think that, oh, that's what they're trying to say, is that they look like this. Like, no, they don't look like that. It's their version of it. That's all. It's fine.
Yeah.
And, so if you take that out of the equation, then you don't really end up with any dinosaur action figures, except for what I'm doing now. So there were a few Revoltech things. I think they did a T-Rex at one point. It was really small. And, of course, you have the Oversaurus stuff, but that was like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
25 years. So, but yeah, there's really not much there. And nobody's willing to do it now because everyone wants to stick to the license. So
It's it. And I think it's going to be that way for a little bit longer. Like, I hope fans are listening to this and being like, wait, he's starting shit. Like, no. I think it's because it's going to last a little bit longer with that, because of the COVID and toy sales and everything like that. It makes it rough. I mean, you're coming in with your established license, so that's pretty good. Like, if we get a Beast of Mesozoic cartoon, that'd be great. I'd pay for that.
I'm definitely interested in expanding to different media. I mean, I'm a big fan of like an animation or a video game, or a comic book. All that stuff is possible. Yeah. Very open to that. I know that one of my fans made a skin of my Styracosaurus for the Jurassic World video game.
Yes.
And I was blown away by it. I was like, holy crap, I want more of those.
I'm surprised we haven't seen any more of that, because I watched a YouTuber who actually did that. Excuse me. And I was like astonished. Like, oh my God, he really captured that Styracosaurus. Holy crap.
Yeah. I was showing to all my friends that I congratulated on. I shared it on my page. I was like, holy crap. And he asked me for permission. I was like, oh yeah, why not? Go ahead. Yeah. And I didn't think much of it. And he showed it to me. I was like, holy crap. Are you going to do more of these? Do more of these. And he said he was working on a Chasmosaurus, but I don't think I ever saw that.
Oh. I don't remember ever seeing anything about that either.
You might not have finished it, but yeah, that Styracosaurus was, when I saw that, I was like, holy crap. It's like I'm watching my creation walk around. Yeah. And it was so cool.
Just give it time.
I don't care. I don't care if I get paid anything for that. I just want to see it. And that's really what it's all about. I just want to see these things. Yeah. I want to see them happen.
Oh, yeah. And like, well, it gets me kind of on I'm very curious on this, because obviously you've worked in a few different types of genus, but What prehistoric creature? I'll say that just in case if it's not a dinosaur. What prehistoric creature genus is kind of your favorite? Do you think?
Hmm. You know, I'm still pretty fond of the Acrocanthosaurus. Uh, I've done it twice now as a model kit. I think the skeleton is just like the coolest thing I've ever seen in nature, and I guess that's probably still my favorite of all the prehistoric animals.
Really?
But that being said, there's a lot of like favorites, I guess. Like as far as ones I haven't done yet, I'm a big fan of Kentrosaurus.
Ooh.
I really like to do a Dimetrodon at some point. I really love Dimetrodon. Let me think. There's so many. I mean, you could just name a family, and I could tell you like my favorite ones for each family.
You know what?
But
You've already blown me away by your first one of Acrocanthosaurus. You've blown me away because nobody says that. That's cool. That's very cool.
it's really very underrated. You don't see it in media. It just hardly ever shows up. I mean, there was one documentary I watched where it did have an Acrocanthosaurus, and it showed them hunting down a big sauropod. I was like, holy shit, so cool.
Yeah.
You know, the things that they would take down something like that. And, there was a time when I was thinking about getting a tattoo of Acrocanthosaurus skeleton
Oh my
on my
god.
arm, like across my back. It was you know, I couldn't figure out a design that I was going to settle on. So I thought, you know, I'm not a tattoo guy. I just like Acrocanthosaurus.
Oh, that's got to be one you make. I've seen Acro. I fell in love with Acro from. I kind of tied it back to Jurassic a little bit. It was a Jurassic Park Builder games for the new one that came out, and then also an older one from years ago. They had an Acro in there, and it was awesome. It was great being able to make your own and put it out there, and then also seeing the skeletons. I've seen one skeleton before. Oh,
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
It's impressive. I mean, what nature can shape
It's true.
and design is just amazing.
Well, speaking of the designs, I'm curious on this sense here because I've worked with artists. I've been working in comic books and all that jazz. You meet a lot of artists and stuff. I mean, what is it like when you're getting a sculpting? Because obviously you've done the sculpting and such like that. What is it like when you do the process and something like that? When you got a new design and you want to turn it into a figure and such like that? Because I've seen your behind the scenes photos, and when you post them, like, oh my god, what does that like entail?
Well, first, obviously, I don't know. I mean, the process is a little different. I don't have like a set routine. Usually, I like to just take everything as it feels right. Like sometimes I will do a design before I start sculpting it. Sometimes I will do the design after I sculpted it. There's times when I've completely redone a design, like with the Centrosaurus design got completely redone because I just didn't like it. That might happen again with another one. Who knows? Nothing's set in stone. Even during production, I could make a few tweaks. But it's really all about just having everything look as good as possible by the time it's finished. But there's not really a set process. A lot of times I'll start sculpting it before I design it, and sometimes it's the other way around. The most important part is that I figure out how the part sharing is going to work. And once I know that, everything will fall into place.
I like it. So it's kind of like you let your brain take over and the creativity take over, and then you get the professional kind of design stuff to it.
Yeah, it's very organic. You know, I try to be pretty flexible with the whole process because you never know which way is going to work best. And I don't want to get locked into a way of doing things. I want to kind of let each figure develop, you know, in a natural way.
Which is fair, yeah. And it's one of those things where you don't, if you have the set process and you do it, like when I work on comic books and I'm writing them for the company, I mean, I write 7 different series. It's always a different process on how I get in the mood to write such book. Or if I'm doing stuff in film, it's always a different thing like that. It's like you always, when it comes to creative arts, I think if you have a set process every time, you're kind of screwed yourself over.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I think so, because it's not necessarily going to work for everything.
Exactly.
So it has to be flexible. Yeah. Yeah. It really has to be about the product and not about the process.
Yeah.
And some products require varied processes, just like what I'm doing now. I mean, there's a lot of variables for each one, and so there's sort of like, to me, this is how I see it. To me, everything I'm doing right now exists in the future already, somewhere in the future. It's already there. So I'm trying to find it and pull it out of the future into that. It sounds completely insane, I'm sure, but it's like somehow it's already there. So I don't worry if it's going to get made or not. It's just there. And I just, I let it be its own thing. And I'm trying to find the steps in between. So those steps vary sometimes. And that's completely fine. I just got to go with the flow.
Exactly. Oh, you know what? I got to say is we're coming near the end because like I said, I don't want to take too much of your time today, but honestly, this has been a very enlightening talk because I always wanted to like talk to you. I was like, wait a minute, how do I get David on the show? Like, okay, I got different shows going on. Like, you're a very smart guy. I mean, how long have you been doing this though? Because you're going about it a very professional way.
I've been working in the toy industry since 2005.
Oh.
I started off as a toy designer for McFarlane Toys. I worked on a lot of the Dragon designs, and there was a bunch of stuff. I mean, the Dragons are the thing that stand out the most to me. There was a bunch of other stuff too, but that kind of put me on this track of wanting to work on creatures. And after a certain point of working there, I was just always trying to get my hands on more creature type characters. I wasn't too interested in characters. I wanted more creatures.
Let's be honest, creatures are the best. They're always the best to work with and work on. When you work on a human, there's so many humans. You'd rather work on a dragon.
Well, yeah, and I felt like a lot of people's approach to working on creatures was a bit half-hearted. It's just that up until McFarlane started doing dragons, like if you saw someone sculpt a dragon, it was usually like there was like a formula. Like you'd take human anatomy, you'd stretch it out, you put all these pointy little scales, you put some pointy horns on the head, big sharp teeth, and mean eye. Like everything has like this to it. And I thought, well, why don't we treat these things like real animals? And that's the approach that I took. I would look at real animal anatomy and try to get ideas, like make them look like they could be functional. And that's not something that they pushed completely as much as I wanted them to, but it was still in that direction, at least as further than I had seen it done at that time. And I also want to now do my own dragons. I have one planned right now that's based on one of my sculptures, Arctic Dragon.
Oh.
And that's something that I want to crowdfund on my website next year. It would be the first thing that I crowdfund on my website outside of Kickstarter. Kind of an experiment. Cool. But it's definitely something I want to see happen. I want to do more dragon action figures, but I want the dragons to look like they go in the same world as the dinosaurs. I don't want them to look like your typical fantasy dragons. I want them to look like real evolved creatures that could exist, but you just didn't see them. And that's the approach that I want to take, like natural history type dragons.
David, you've got me hooked. You've got me hooked again, good man. Brilliant. Like, shit, we don't even get that in movies or television. Like, we don't. We just get like, oh, fantastic. One that could be based, you'd be like, oh, I could picture that happening in like Asia or like an African dragon. You don't get that. Oh, you are in the field that you are meant to be in. I swear, because you're. Blow me away, man.
Thanks. I try to have fun with it. I try to make the things that I think are missing, and in my mind, there's a lot missing.
Yeah.
I've been working with a lot of companies that I feel like they're putting a lot of stuff out there that it doesn't seem that much different than what's been out there already. Um, and even the companies I don't work for. I mean, I look at toy news much more than I look at world news. Let me tell you, I don't care about world news very much. I'm always looking at toy news, like what's going on in the industry, always.
Same.
And I'm a big collector. I have a big collection myself. I'm a fan of a ton of stuff, and there's really just an oversaturation right now of a lot of licensed products, I think, and especially with the licenses being divvied up so many different ways. And I just, like, I feel like, all right, there's too much. And then, life has a way of balancing itself out. And I feel like, okay, now's the time that we start going back to some more original stuff again. Like back in the 80s, there was a lot of original stuff. And ever since, like, I don't know, halfway through the 90s maybe, they started bringing stuff back. And they just trying to turn it to a whole licensing thing. And now I feel like it needs to kind of even back out again. That's my honest opinion. I just feel like it needs to even back out. We need more ideas out there. We need more things that are missing. And the animals and the dinosaurs and the dragons, I feel like those are missing. I'm gonna do what I can to help.
Yeah, and I'm honest opinion on this is it will even back out. It's especially if this year has proven anything with like the harshness and how it's affected the toy industry and such, it will definitely even back out. And maybe it'll take next year too, but I have a strange feeling you will see the whole industry as a whole kind of even out with the oversaturation. I really do.
Yeah, I think so too, and I want to be a part of that. I want to help contribute to that in a positive way. I want to put some well thought out quality stuff.
Yeah.
I want to give attention to the animal kingdom. I want to give attention to natural history. I think that is the roots of everybody on the planet. I mean, that's where we all came from.
It's true.
And the animals are much more connected to the origins of our planet than we are at this point. We're much more disconnected now. And I think by exploring and celebrating wildlife and natural history, I think we learn more about ourselves that is easy to miss because of all the distractions right now.
You could not have put that any better. Honestly, you could not have put that any better. As a nature lover and fossil lover, you could not have put that any better, sir. I've tried so hard to explain that sort of thing to people, and I butcher it. But you put it together right. Man, that's good.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I feel very strongly about it, and it motivates me. And I feel like what I'm best at is working on action figures. And if that's what I'm best at, then I want to bring that sentiment to what I'm doing.
Exactly.
So that's why it doesn't feel like a job. It just feels like that's what I do. Every living creature has a thing that they do.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
It goes to that saying, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life, which I stand behind, mind you. I stand behind that.
Oh. Absolutely. I agree with that too, because whether or not you get paid for it, it's not really the point. I mean, you do need to make a living at it, obviously, if you're going to spend all your time on it, yes. But, none of us do what we love to get rich, I don't think.
No.
I think it's just, you just do it because it's in you to do it. That's what you're here for, and that's what you're best for. So, I think it's great. I think that a lot of people don't get to discover what they're best for, to be honest. I think that there's just so much noise. And unfortunately, there's probably a lot of people with a lot of potential who are just not aware of what they're best for, and it's too bad. But I feel very fortunate that I was able to figure it out, and I feel pretty strongly that this needs to be done. So what I'm doing.
David, you're the best, man. I want your TED Talk. I really do, because it will definitely get people up and moving. And Honestly, there's no better way to end the show is right here. So, David, I gotta say thank you for coming on the show, good man.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It was a good talk. I appreciate the talk and the time to say what's on my mind, I guess.
It's true. Like, and that was the point of the show, is to like have toy creators on, like toy lovers have us on and see what's on the mind and a little bit behind the scenes and stuff like that. But kind of get one-on-one with the creators, because I think it's always important. And shit, I really want. I'm not even kidding. Like, I think you could give some really good motivational stuff out there. But now's the time when I put it to you, good man, is where can people find all the Beast Mesozoic and everything about you?
You can find all my stuff at creative-beast.com. And you can find my work, you can find my shop, links to my social media, everything you can find at creativebeast.com.
Awesome. And I'll be sure to let you know when this episode comes out, and I'll be sure to tag you in it, because sooner or later I'm going to get me one of your figures, and I'm going to do a review on it on my channel, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Awesome. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Of course, good man. You have yourself a wonderful rest of the day, okay?
All right, you too, Dakota.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Of course, no problem. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, David, for coming on the show. And, of course, folks, if you want to follow me at DakotaMorgan3 on Twitter and at Dakota_Morgan97 on Instagram. Make sure you guys subscribe to Dakota Morgan on YouTube for more fun stuff, or wherever you're listening to the show, because the show's still in development. Hopefully it's in a good spot somewhere, whether it's podcast or YouTube and stuff like that. Subscribe or whatever you're listening/watching this show on. Thanks, everyone. And without further ado, stay creative, my fellow toy lovers.